Hi, I'm Justin Riley. Today on Wisconsin Doctors, rural primary care for kids. Why taking your kid to see a doctor at a rural clinic might be the best move for him or her. We'll talk about everything from maternity care to well visits to child nutrition to sports physicals. And my guests will include Natasha Reagan, who is the nurse supervisor here at Necedah Family Medical Center, Casey Hoel, registered dietitian nutritionist, Dr. Ryan Plum, pediatrician, and Dr. Angela Gatzke, family physician. We're on location here at the Necedah Family Medical Center, part of Mile Bluff Medical Center. It's all coming up right here on Wisconsin Doctors. You stick around. Hey folks, welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We're here on location at the Necedah Family Medical Center right here in Necedah, part of Mile Bluff Medical Center, and we're really excited to be here today. And our first guest that we're talking to is Natasha Reagan, who's the nurse supervisor here. Natasha, welcome.
Hi.
And thanks for having us, I should say. So, can you give viewers an idea of what your role is as nurse supervisor?
Here in the clinic, I work with coordinating and supervising the staff. I also do help with patient care. I help cover the lab with the medical assistants, helping with the providers. I do help them with education. Sometimes if Ryan has a new mom that needs help with breastfeeding, I will help work with the mom for that. If Angie needs help with anticoag teaching, so anything that they may need help with for that. I also work with trying to improve clinic quality and work on the patient experience, because we're such a small community. We like to have our patients.
Coag teaching, what is that?
I'm sorry, anticoagulation teaching. So
okay.
We have some patients that receive like Lovenox injections, so we teach them to do that at home. They don't always have to come in to see us or go to the emergency room to have that done.
Okay, very good, very good.
It's very helpful. So some people think that we're just a doctor's office. Can you talk a little bit more about the full spectrum of services that we offer here?
We have a team focus, and we do comprehensive care. So we have primary care, which is you and Lisa. We have the pediatrician, Ryan, and we do maternity care. We have podiatry, so Dr. Langan comes here twice a week. We do have massage therapy come every second Friday. See which others do we have. We have lab. We do have X-ray in-house that we are able to do as well.
And that's pretty impressive because looking from the outside, this is actually pretty small building from the outside. You do quite a bit of services for such a small facility.
We do.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So Tasha, as we're located in a small community of Necedah, can you talk about some of the things that we do here at the clinic to give back to our community?
It's important to the clinic that we are able to support our community, so we help out with anything that we can. We do have free health screenings here. We have some ladies from the lab that come, and they will do some lab screenings, blood pressures like that. We have childbirth education come. I'm not sure how often they come. I believe it's once every couple of weeks, and they will host a class in the community room. We try to volunteer our time, whether it be at the Relay for Life, the county fair, any kind of education thing that we can find. I know the providers have gone over to the school and talked to some of the students. I believe one was a job fair to kind of talk to them about what they do and stuff like that. We also did last year, we hosted our first annual 5K fundraiser. It's Autumn Scamper.
Okay.
We did that for the Necedah School District. And the food pantry, and that went pretty good. So we are doing our second annual this year on October 3rd at the school, and this year we are raising the funds for the Necedah Library.
I think that's one of those things where, you know, a 5K run especially, you do it the first year and you get a pretty good turnout, and then every year after that it just kind of grows and grows, and more people hear about it. So
We had snow last year for our first year.
Yes. A little bit? When was that? What month was that?
The first Saturday in October.
Oh, wow.
But we still had 60-some
Yeah.
runners.
Wow,
So
that's
we
pretty
still had
good.
a pretty good turnout for the first year and having snow.
I'm the reigning stroller pushing champion
Yes,
from the
yes.
run.
There you go. You aim to keep that champion.
I do, yes.
Awesome.
So you've touched on a number of things we do here. Is there anything else you'd like viewers to know about services offered at the facility?
We are an extension of the Mount Bluff Medical Center in Mauston, and we are one of the 5 clinics that we have. We are located right in Necedah, so it's very convenient for a lot of our patients in Necedah, because it takes about a half an hour to get to Mauston. So it's nice to have something local for them to go to. We do have all 3 of our doctors are accepting new patients. Angie is accepting OB patients, pediatrics. Ryan is seeing new peds. He also is in Mauston and New Lisbon during the week as well as here, so he's available in 3 different locations. And we provide care for the whole spectrum, birth through the end of life.
Awesome. Well, Natasha Reagan, nurse supervisor here in the Necedah Family Medical Center, thank you so much for joining us. Don't go away. There's more Wisconsin doctors coming up right after this. Stick around. And welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We're here on location at the Necedah Family Medical Center, right here in Necedah, part of Mile Bluff Medical Center. And my next guest is Dr. Angela Gatzke Plum, who is going to be talking a little bit about rural primary care. Dr. Gatzke Plum, welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome. Do you usually go by Dr. Plumman or
Dr. Gatzke.
Dr. Gatzke?
My husband is Dr. Plowman.
He's right there, sitting next to me. All right, we'll get to him later in the show. So, Dr. Gatzke, obviously you're a part of family medicine here, and can you talk about a little bit about that specialty and what type of care you typically provide to your patients?
Sure. Family physicians are primary care physicians who take care of patients throughout their life. So from birth to the end of life, both males and females. As a family physician, I see patients both in the outpatient setting, so here in this clinic, as well as in the inpatient setting in a hospital and in nursing homes. I see patients for chronic diseases like diabetes and COPD. When patients are sick with conditions like pneumonia or urinary tract infections, I will see them for that as well. A big part of what I do is preventive medicine, so seeing patients on an annual basis or for their annual physicals to talk about how to keep them healthy through healthy lifestyles, immunizations, cancer screenings. I also do maternity care, so taking care of patients during pregnancy as well as during their labors and deliveries. And as I said earlier, if a patient has a serious health condition, I will take care of them in the hospital. And then I do have the fortune of taking care of some patients in the nursing home as well, which is another area I really enjoy. I am one of 2 providers here at Necedah who practices family medicine, and we take care of patients not only from the Necedah area, but we also have patients who come to see us from the Adams Friendship area and the Tomah area as well. So it expands our range a little bit.
I'm always so impressed with the variety, the skill set and the variety of knowledge that people who practice family medicine have to have. I mean, it's kind of almost the antithesis of specializing. You just have to know everything. Not just be a jack of all trades, but be a master of all these different trades.
It is a bit challenging, but that's also what's really exciting about it. And in a rural area, that becomes very valuable to have a lot of experience. So I'm fortunate to have colleagues that have a lot of experience to help me out. But we also have a great opportunity to work very closely with our specialists to coordinate the care, and I find that to be a valuable part of my practice.
That's awesome.
What led you to make that decision to go into the family medicine?
Well, one of the biggest roles a family physician has in taking care of a patient is promoting wellness and health, and I'm very passionate about that in my own life. So being able to share that with my patients is a very important part of my job. I like to talk about healthy lifestyles, so increasing physical activity. I enjoy talking about healthy dietary choices and stress reduction, building healthy families and building a healthy mind. So the fact that I get to do that on a daily basis was really really interesting to me as a family physician. That relationship that I get to build over time with the family and with the patient is also very valuable. Not only do I'm oftentimes taking care of multiple patients or multiple family members from the same family, and that really helps me to better take care of them because I understand their roles in their family and where they're coming from. And finally, as you said before, the variety of what I do is wonderful. It's not unusual for me to go from talking with an elderly couple about end-of-life issues to the next hour delivering a baby. And that's the kind of variety that keeps my mind challenged and keeps me excited about my job.
Yeah, keep challenging yourself. That's important. That's how we grow.
Speaking of, can you elaborate more on your maternity care and delivery services?
Sure. I provide maternity care, so I take care of women during their pregnancies, and I will see them here in the clinic periodically throughout their pregnancies, more often towards the end of pregnancy. And then I provide labor and delivery services at Mile Bluff Medical Center in Boston. So I perform both vaginal deliveries, and I have done special training to perform cesarean sections if needed. One of the really nice things about Mile Bluff Medical Center is that our providers that perform deliveries really value that relationship that we have developed over time with our patients. So we strive to be there for the delivery. So if a person is a patient who's planning to deliver at Mile Bluff, it's very likely that the person that's going to be there for the delivery is the person that they've known the whole time during their pregnancy, which is a comfort. We have wonderful nurses who provide childbirth education and opportunities ahead of time to meet with them. So you're really going into a familiar environment when you're delivering at Mile Bluff.
Very cool.
Yeah, so what happens when a patient says, I don't need to see a doctor because I'm not sick? What do you tell them?
And we just have about 20 seconds.
Sure. So as I said earlier, a big part of what I do is promoting wellness and health, and I have a lot of opportunities to do that, to really talk with people about how to stay healthy, getting their immunizations, cancer screening. Finally, it's really nice to get to know a provider and for a provider to get to know a patient before they're sick.
You really get to develop that relationship in a setting like
Yes.
this. That's awesome. Well, Dr. Gatzke, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Don't go away. There's more Wisconsin Doctors coming up right after this. Stick around. Hey folks, welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We're here on location at the Necedah Family Medical Center, part of Mile Bluff Medical Center. And I'm joined now by Dr. Ryan Plum. And Dr. Plum, welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about pediatrics today. Can you talk to viewers a little bit about what your role is as a pediatrician?
So as a pediatrician, I specialize in seeing kids all the way from newborn age through the age of 18. So when I did medical school, you learn everything, and then in residency you learn how to take care of your patients, and I want to specialize in taking care of children. So I see children when they're healthy for well visits. I see them when they're sick, if they have a fever, if they have a cough, cold, hurt themselves. I found what I do a lot here in a rural setting is a lot of mental health care. So I see children for depression, anxiety, attention deficit disorder, that kind of thing.
I think that's so cool because that's something that that's news to me, that a pediatrician is actually certified to handle some mental health issues as well. That's very cool.
Yep, we did quite a bit of that in training, and
Sure.
then I found that when I came to this community, there's not a lot of mental health providers. So to provide that to the community, I found I took that on as a role too. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
So you mentioned attention deficit disorder. Why is the proper diagnosis for this so important?
So attention deficit disorder is when children have a problem paying attention, and various studies show that approximately 10% of kids have attention deficit disorder, so it's a fairly common diagnosis. It can impair their ability to learn and socialize, so from that standpoint it's good to know if you have it. That being said, not every child who is hyperactive or has problems paying attention has attention deficit disorder. So the proper diagnosis is important, so we find the patients that need to be treated and treat them appropriately. As a pediatrician, my tool is using medicine to treat attention deficit disorder. However, I work closely with therapists to do mental health therapy as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned the well child exam. Can you explain what that is and why it's so important?
Yeah, well, as it stated, kind of well child, it's when you're feeling well and don't have a particular complaint, although many times for well child visits, people do have complaints or want to talk about something, which is great, but it gives a chance to see how the child is developing and growing and making sure that they're doing well in those parameters. It also gives a chance for us to get to know each other, so when a child is sick, they're a little bit more difficult to evaluate. So if you have a good baseline, if you have good rapport with the child and the family, it makes that part of my job a lot easier. Plus, it's fun to see kids as they grow up through the years, and going from a newborn to an 18-year-old, there's quite a bit of change. So on my end, it's kind of selfish. I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't take this job if there wasn't something in it for you, though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or reminders for parents as they send their children back to school here?
Well, yeah, that's a good thing to think about now. Before we start school, we're getting into August, so school's coming up pretty soon. So I would say first thing is to know if the child needs to get in for vaccines. There's certain ages where the school requires vaccines, so kindergarten age and prior to going into 6th grade is when typically we do vaccines. So look into that. Also, if a child needs a sports physical, that's required by the state to participate in sports, they should look into that as well. And it gives me an opportunity to, again, talk to kids and teenagers and make sure they're living a healthy lifestyle.
What are some things that parents or kids can expect when having a sports physical, like if they're going to be playing some, football or whatever as a freshman in high school?
Yeah, so again, the sports physical is a requirement by the state. So if you don't get your sports physical done, you can't participate until you do that. So prior to the sports physical, there's a form that the parents or children can pick up at school that they fill out. It goes through a bunch of health questions that are important to know about the child or the child's family to see if there's anything that would preclude them from participating in sports. So they fill that out, they come in, we do the exam, make sure they're healthy, and basically after that's done and everything checks out, it's good for 2 years, so I don't have to see them back for 2 years for another sports physical.
Awesome. So go see Dr. Plum and get your sports physical, kids, because it's coming. You got to do it or you can't play. Thank you for talking with us today, Dr. Plum.
You're welcome.
Don't go away. There's more Wisconsin Doctors coming up right after this. Hey folks, welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We're here again at the Necedah Family Medical Center, part of Mile Bluff Medical Center here in Necedah. And I'm joined now by Casey Hoel, a registered dietitian nutritionist here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Dr. Plum just talked a little bit about pediatrics, and now we're going to talk a little bit about child nutrition, which I'm really excited to hear about because I've got kids at home, and one of them's 3 and she doesn't eat. So I think a lot of parents would like to know, what's the secret for getting your kids to eat fruits and vegetables? I mean, what advice can you give to parents?
Sure. Well, unfortunately, there's no secret,
Right.
but we've all heard, I'm sure, that it takes multiple exposures to a new item before a child will accept it, and that's the same for fruit and vegetables. So it can take anywhere up to 10 times or more. So something to keep in mind is that an exposure counts as having it into a dish or just having it on the plate or having parents role model good eating habits with that fruit or vegetable. So maybe to help that process along, some things you could try would be involving them in every step of the process. So take them to the grocery store, have them pick out a new fruit or vegetable that they want to try. Once you get it home, give them options for how they want it prepared or what recipe they think they might like. If they're old enough to help, have them wash it or have them peel it or season it. Any kind of stake you can give them in preparing that is really going to help because they're going to feel like they had something to do with that and they're going to be much more likely to try it. At the table, aside from, like we said earlier, good role modeling, putting it next to something that they already like on their plate. So studies have shown that if it's next to a food that they already like, already trust, then they'll be much more likely to be accepting of that new thing. Something to keep in mind though is to never force a child to try something new. Having that exposure, just having it on their plate. They don't have to necessarily try it for it to count as an exposure. So we don't want to create a traumatic experience, tears at the table over trying their peas.
Right.
Some
Peas are not worth it, people.
some general tips for increasing fruits and veggies, cut things up. So slicing an apple, making bell peppers look fun, peeling the orange for them. Those things can be the complete difference between them leaving it in their lunch and eating it. So typical things like that. There's lots of recipes for smoothies and casseroles and soups and baked goods for fruits and veggies. So really explore those, and there's lots of
ways of
ideas.
sneaking those things in.
Yes.
Yeah, very good.
So I seem to get this question quite a bit from parents, but what do you tell parents who worry about how much or how little their child is eating?
Sure. So this is a common concern for parents. I've heard it a lot. My child hardly eats during the day. I don't know what to do. But really we need to remember that children are born with this really unique thing called intuitive eating, and they're able to listen to their body in a way that adults have unlearned. So we really need to allow them to listen to their body. Their stomachs are smaller than ours, so they do better grazing throughout the day as opposed to 3 large meals like we have trained ourselves to do. So the job as the parents is to provide healthy choices, and as long as you're providing healthy choices following my plate, so we have half the plate is fruit and vegetables, and then we have a quarter for grains, preferably whole, lean protein, and dairy. So as long as we're following that, let them do the selection of how much they're going to eat and when. So it'll balance out over a few days if that's what you're offering. Of course, we don't want to let them get in the habit of getting sweets and desserts if they're not eating the healthy things. Something else to keep in mind is a general rule of thumb for kids under the age of 5. They should be doing about a tablespoon per food group per age. So if we have a 2-year-old, I have these 2 little models here, so those are each a tablespoon. So I think it's really easy as parents to plate things up as we would plate for ourselves. We need to use a child-sized plate. So you can compare it to some of these serving sizes. I mean, if we portion that many peas for them, it's kind of unrealistic for a 2-year-old to expect to eat that. So really keeping our portions in check is important too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with back to school time approaching, what tips do you offer for viewers that are packing healthy lunches?
Sure. So a big time saver overall, it doesn't seem like it at the time, is prepping one night for the whole week. So buying Tupperware containers or Ziploc baggies, having the kids help. You can tell them, put 10 baby carrots in this bag and do it for your brothers and sisters. So that way in the morning it's a grab and go process and not so much of a mad dash for what you're going to bring for lunch, because if you don't have a plan, you're much more likely to pack some unhealthy options. So sitting down with your child, going through the school lunch menu, deciding which ones you're going to eat the school lunch, which ones you want to pack a lunch. That way you know you have everything on hand for healthy ideas when you're at the store. Some other things to think about is reading labels. There's a lot of healthy seeming convenience foods that really sneak in the sodium or the sugar, so looking at the backs of the labels is important.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. The thought is that eating healthy is really expensive. Do you have any tips or suggestions for being able to purchase the fruits and vegetables?
Great question.
Yep, so aside from watching for sales, knowing what's in season is really important, and there's great resources online for knowing that. And if you can buy in bulk, freezing the bulk that you buy before it goes bad, or making recipes, 2 to 3 times a recipe, and then you can freeze it, and that way you can have that fresh, healthy fruit or vegetable later on in the year when it's no longer in season. Things like bananas, apples, potatoes, carrots, those things are usually in season all of the time, so their price doesn't really fluctuate as much, so those are good options even in the winter months when things aren't as fresh in the summer.
So it's pretty easy to find some healthy options year-round and find some things to both challenge the kids and hopefully get them eating healthy and enjoying it as well.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Casey Hoel, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for the information today.
You're welcome.
It was great talking with you. And I want to thank all of my guests here today on Wisconsin Doctors, Natasha Reagan, Dr. Angela Gatzke, and Dr. Ryan Plum, and thank you so much for the information. It was great talking with you. That's all the time we have for Wisconsin Doctors. We've been here at the Necedah Family Medical Center, and from all of us here at Wisconsin Doctors and CW57, we're inviting you to live longer, live better. We'll see you next time.